And hello and welcome to Hollywood Blockbusters. I was adjusting your cameras, but I didn't look at mine. There we go. I am Joe Hollywood, and once again, I'm joined by Imaginos Pete.
Hey.
And Andrew Walker.
Hello.
And a empty chair. This is the first time in a while we
I'm telling you, George will make it. We just got to give him more time.
Give him time.
Han will have that shield down.
Cut the red wire. All right, so before we delve in today's topic, we have a summer blockbuster release list of pretty eagerly anticipated movies that have been coming out over the past few weeks into this upcoming weekend. A couple of them are part of franchises. And about a month or so ago, we got the latest installment and final installment of Mission Impossible. And then about a week ago, we got the latest entry in the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise.
Final installment, Mission Impossible. Look at you, so naive.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a second. And this upcoming weekend, gosh, I almost wish we would have waited a day or two to do the podcast, because this upcoming weekend is the latest entry in the Superman franchise. Let's quickly talk about Mission Impossible for a second. I finally got around to seeing it. And didn't really care for the first half of the movie. I thought it spent a lot of time extrapolating all the events of the previous movies, showing how that they were all connected to the grand finale of Final Reckoning. And it spent a lot of time doing that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I saw the movies. Let's move along. You know, it's almost like, in the 70s or 80s previously on Mission Impossible. It's like, yeah, I know, we get it. But I thought the second half of the movie was absolutely spectacular.
You mean when he tried to kill himself multiple times?
Oh, geez. It cements Tom Cruise's legacy as one of the last remaining true movie stars, that he's willing to give everything to entertain the audience. And he came on the screen before the movie started and thanked us for being there, and that this movie was meant to be seen in a theater. And I really appreciate that.
Do you remember that old Looney Tunes commercial cartoon when Bugs and Daffy have to entertain the crowd, and who can do the most extreme act? And
yeah.
Daffy swallows nitroglycerin and gunpowder. He can only do it once. I felt like that was Tom. I was like, Tom, stop.
That's how they should have ended it. The second half of the movie I thought was enormously entertaining, and we were having a group chat where you guys were talking about what's your favorite movie of 2025 so far, and I said, for me, it's the second half of Mission Impossible. It's pretty darn entertaining. And granted, there are still a few movies I have yet to see in 2025, but I thought it was enormously entertaining. Did you guys get a chance to see Mission Impossible yet?
No, I haven't. Yes.
And do you concur with me?
I do agree. I think it was a bunch of set pieces, action pieces, because they set up the story. They try to do like a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hey, can we graft all the movies together? I'm like, I guess we can right now. So go ahead, do it. But the actual story in itself, I thought the one where he's climbing the Burj Al Arab.
Yeah,
I thought that was a little bit. I thought that one with Rogue Nation, when you first get to introduced to Sarah Ferguson's character.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were better in this series.
Oh, I agree. And we're going to get to those in a second as far as rankings and stuff like that. Yeah. And then about a week ago, the latest installment of the Jurassic World franchise came out, starring Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala. Am I pronouncing that? Mahershala Ali. Where they pretty much disregard everything that happened in the previous film, probably with good reason. And so this almost didn't feel like a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie, because they took some liberties with scientific experiments and crossbreeding and experimentation. And so we get these creatures that are roaming the screen that could have been something out of a alien sci-fi movie. They could have easily have gone to another planet for the same effect. So I thought it was a little odd that they went in that direction. And again, the first half of the movie just felt like it was all, what do you call that? What's the word when you're just sort of explaining things for a while? Exposition. And, I think one of the criticisms of the most recent Jurassic World movies is lack of character development. They just get right into the dino action. And so I felt like this Rebirth movie was heavy on the character development to the point where it was almost forced down your throats. Oh, I lost a spouse. I lost a partner. We lost our mom. We lost this. You lost that. All right, now let's get to the dino action. It just seemed very heavy-handed and deliberate.
This was not a good version of this. This was so bad.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what they were doing. You didn't. Why? They even call it out in the movie. That guy's like, why would you sail your family in the area where all the dinosaurs are going there? Well, there's 500 other ships. I'm like, yeah, buddy. This is like parental malfeasance.
Yeah.
So you have to have a kid because you have to have the product placement, the little dino toy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I didn't care for the main characters. Scarlett Johansson's like, I'm doing it for the money.
Did you care about any of them? Like, I didn't care about any of the characters.
And they're not dinosaurs. They're all these mutant. You're right.
They brought in a couple of the classics to appease the audience. We got
you mean the raptors that were there for 2 seconds that got eaten by the monster?
The T-Rex scene was okay on the river with the raft.
They took from the original novel. So
exactly.
Kudos for that 5-minute sequence. I'm sure it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and then because it was CGI, there were some weird physics problems with the movie. One of the problems I had, and have you both seen it? No, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it. So one of the problems I had with the movie is that Scarlett Johansson's group, they got separated from the other family. They're in a wide open area. Looks like corn stalks, but they're not corn stalks because they're on a tropical island. But you see empty fields as far as the eye can see. And then all of a sudden...
Oh, you noticed it too.
They reveal like these slim snake-like tails, which you don't realize are tails initially. And then the camera does a reveal that they're the biggest creatures to ever walk the earth, the Titanosaurus or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have been standing there the entire time.
No, Joe. They were crouched so low.
The corn was a bit tall, I guess.
So you saw it too. I said... Where were these things hiding? There must be a valley.
Yeah.
No, it's flat ground.
And then they revealed more and more dinosaurs. There were like a dozen. It's like, where were they? You'd picture a dinosaur holding up some corn stalks, peeking behind it, like, peekaboo.
He'd be like, turn on Godzilla. When did you get here?
Yeah. He's hiding behind a coconut tree.
Holding like a frond in front of him. Like,
yeah.
I can't find him.
And then like when the T-Rex was chasing the raft, when the camera was above water, the river looked like it was 3 feet deep. And then when the camera would be underwater, it looked like it was 30 feet deep. And it would go back from 3 feet to 30 feet, 3 feet to 30 feet.
Oh, when the dinosaur was going to eat the guy in the water, and you're like, oh, he's dead. Oh, you realized he got a little too close. Now the monster's going to be like, go on, get up on the boat so I can't eat you. Otherwise I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. And then they're saved just because there was a gap in the rocks that he couldn't poke his head through. And so
he can look over. That's you don't mean he can't stand and go, hold on 1 second.
Very questionable decisions in this film.
Because
and
it's
just yet another Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movie that just dropped the ball. I mean, you're getting, as a filmmaker, you're dealing with dinosaurs. You're getting a big old matzo ball pitched at you, and you're just whiffing. Like, how do you whiff on this premise, this dinosaur premise?
Because they codified all the silly crap in the previous. When the 10-year-old girl's like, I'm going to change the face of the planet. Let these clone monsters out. I'm like, lady, you don't get to make a unilateral decision
that affects
for the planet. But because they had to make it, had they done like Alien 3 and 4 never happened.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
But they couldn't. They acknowledged everything in the Jurassic World franchise. I'm like, oh God, there's nothing you can do. Now, for reasons we can't explain, all the dinosaurs have to live near the equator. Like, oh, cool.
They tried to explain it. They were like, the colder climates were lethal, so they have to live in tropical.
But if you do the equator, I'm like, have you seen the nations that are in the equator? I don't care what politics you have. You're not giving up the Congo and all the minerals that they're there. You want your cell phones, you need that lithium. Yeah. You're not giving up the Congo because a bunch of raptors and we'll shoot them.
Yeah. Now, my review of Jurassic World Rebirth.
Hated it.
Next, moving on.
But you're right. But this is not because you're just hating for the sake of hating. Like, there are structural story problems that don't make a lick of sense. Like, you want to say, well, why did you make the movie? You want to make money. Great. Then tell a story. They cheated us. They said, "Oh, we got Gareth Edwards and David Koppel who wrote the original Jurassic Park." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
You
when,
bastards.
when I saw Gareth Edwards was directing, I'm like, oh, he did Rogue One, which I love and
Right?
Yeah.
pretty universally loved movie, very
Yeah.
well made.
I agree.
But then I remembered I read something not too long after the Rogue One came out that what's his name, Tony Gilroy, he actually is he did a
He's a
lot of
secret?
Wow. The heavy lifting.
he did and we had to go back and fix a lot of it.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
had the scoop all this time and you refused to share it, Andrew.
And that guy did
That's some Bob Woodward shit right there.
Andor,
Yeah.
which did you see season 2?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
I've been did you watch any of it?
No.
Oh, Joe, it is so good. It's Star Wars for adults.
Yeah. Yeah, it ain't my Star Wars. This is serious and no lightsabers, no spaceships, and no aliens. It's my Star Wars.
Oh,
Well, that's not Star Wars, goddammit.
There's spaceships, just no lightsabers.
Don't get me started. We're veering off topic here.
Yeah.
Let's use this. I wanted to talk about Superman, but
Sure.
it's not out yet. We'll save Superman for
Sure.
a little bit later in the program. Let's segue from Rebirth to the topic at hand, our favorite franchises that have come out over the past several decades. And let's start off with the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise, which is made up of 7 movies, which all began with a topic, a movie that we've discussed on this podcast many, many times, Jurassic Park in 1993,
Yeah.
which was a game changer, revolutionized films and CGI and book adaptations and all sorts of stuff. So that came out in 1993. Its sequel, which was motivated by the fact that they couldn't incorporate everything in the book into the first movie, which is kind of laughable because they're like, I don't know, the budget's getting a little high.
Yeah.
Come on, the movie made $1 billion. So they did a sequel where they incorporated elements from the book into the sequel. They called it The Lost World, Jurassic Park, The Lost World. That came out in 1997, followed by the forgettable Jurassic Park 3 in 2001. And then in 2015, they began the Jurassic World series with the first movie that starred Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and then followed by Fallen Kingdom, which was terrible in 2018, Dominion, which was even worse in 2022, and then, of course, Rebirth in 2025. And somebody shared a meme with me. I forget what it was relating to, but their review of Rebirth was, and here's another example of us trying to ruin a franchise. Oh, it was a reference to The Matrix. There was a scene in The Matrix where The Matrix had tried and failed many times over to create a society that would work, and it failed every single time. And they used that analogy for the Jurassic Park movies. Every time they try to reboot the dinosaur franchise, they fail miserably and have to start over again. And like I said earlier, Rebirth ignored a lot of the things that were steps in the past couple movies. So it's very puzzling. The entire franchise has earned over $6 billion and counting because Rebirth is still in the theaters. I will say this, I did get a cool Jurassic Park popcorn bucket, so that salvaged the day. There's a couple of them you could choose from. So the original trilogy, of course, kicked off with Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, who was great, Richard Attenborough, lots of great lines, a lot of great references. And then the newest entry, as we were talking about earlier, has Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and a bunch of people I'd never heard of, but
again,
and Dora the Explorer is in it too.
Right, but that brought up the point. In the last Jurassic World movie, they brought back all the characters as if that was going to be the final of it.
Yeah.
If you want to reboot it, go ahead.
That's kind of what this last one felt
I
like.
thought they were going to reboot it, but no, they said, "Oh, we're picking up where all the other ones left off." I'm like, then why did you?
Yeah.
It's just, and that's another thing. When you have to bring back all the original characters, you know you're trying too hard.
Yeah. So if you were to rank franchises, does the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise crack your top 10, top 5?
God, no.
Now, in my opinion, the only one I really loved was the first one. I thought the Chris Pratt one was entertaining but flawed. But yeah, as a franchise, I don't think it would crack my top 10.
In fact, I would watch Jurassic Park and then Jurassic World.
Right. That's all you need.
I would ignore Jurassic Lost World because the book was dry. God bless Michael Crichton. But had they actually made an adaptation of the book, it would have been a snore fest because it was more of a philosophical thing at that point.
It was man versus beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
You can enjoy it. I'm just saying, but translating that, you would have to change the story a lot. And then people say, well, why'd you do it? And that's what happened. That's how you have a dinosaur running around San Diego.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah. Even though I do have to admit that seeing a a T-Rex running around San Diego was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed that.
That's nice. But again, then you just pitch story out the window for cool set pieces.
And I think I thought that's where the franchise was going to go was, once they revealed that dinosaurs were getting off the island, I was expecting an entire movie set in like some suburb someplace, fending off T-Rexes and pterodactyls.
You could have made Spielberg had it on a layup. He is a Jaws veteran.
Yeah.
Could you imagine had they leaned into the Mosasaurus? You actually did what? And it got out?
Yeah.
You have Jaws on steroids out there that could actually damage big ships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't understand why these filmmakers just don't get it. Hollywood, if you're listening, let me write a script. Let me take a crack.
You know what
at
this
it.
is? This is basically you come up with an original idea, say what you want about Jurassic Park. The original idea was the novel, and then they adapted it. Great. And then you get a bunch of suits who are given the keys to a Ferrari and have never passed driver's ed.
Oh, yeah.
And they wreck the damn Ferrari.
Yeah, they leave the dealership and crash. Yeah, yeah. We talked about Mission Impossible a moment ago. Let's talk about that particular franchise. The very first, let me say this. Mission Impossible, the franchise, consists of 8 total movies, beginning with Part 1 in 1996, followed by 2, 3, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and then they changed the name of Part 2 to Final Reckoning, which brings the whole franchise to a close. Looking at rankings, many consider Mission Impossible 2, which was directed by John Woo, the worst entry in the franchise. I did not care for it. Followed by MI3, the second worst movie in the franchise. The new one, Final Reckoning, is ranked 6th by The Hollywood Reporter out of the 8 movies. Most sites that I looked at rank Fallout 2018, which featured Henry Cavill in it, at the top of the list. And I was surprised that most sites agreed that Fallout was number 1 on the list, even Rotten Tomatoes, followed by Rogue Nation. I personally put Rogue Nation at the top. I really enjoyed Rogue Nation. I believe it's the one you mentioned earlier where he's hanging on the outside of the skyscraper.
No, that's number 4. That's Ghost Protocol.
Oh, that was Ghost Pro.
Yeah, number 5 is when you get Sarah Ferguson, the lady who can kill people between her legs.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. I wrote Rogue Nation, but I meant Ghost Protocol. I really enjoyed Ghost Protocol. I thought that was a lot of fun. But Variety ranked Rogue Nation at the top. The franchise has grossed over $4 billion, with Fallout being the top earner at almost $800 million. So Fallout not only was the top earner, but by most consensus was the favorite of the franchise. Where do you guys put Mission Impossible?
As a film franchise, I would put it in the top 10.
Yeah.
I'd go 1. I mean, if you're just watching, you can go 1, 4, 5, and then you basically, skip 2 and 3. Just go from the original one, which is entertaining, and then you could start off with Ghost Protocol, and that almost felt like a different franchise initially. But yeah, I would put 4. I would put Ghost Protocol, then I'd put Rogue Nation. Actually, I'd go in order. I think that's how they progressively got a little bit more absurd. But
yeah,
Final Reckoning was like the worst of the ending.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they were all progressively bad. I mean, they were just entertaining.
Yeah.
But Final Reckoning it didn't stick the landing.
The crazy thing when they were showing a lot of clips from the franchise during Final Reckoning is you realize how long they've been doing this and how young Tom Cruise looked in some of those clips. And when you look at Mission Impossible 1, that 1996, we're coming up on 30 years of the Mission Impossible franchise. That sounds crazy to me. 30 years we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Did it feel like in Final Reckoning they were leaning into the joke? He didn't have to do that running sequence in Final Reckoning in London. I was like, Like, Ethan, you can take a car.
Yeah.
He was running along in London. I was like, and it's time sensitive. I have to make it there in time, like to get to Luther.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. It definitely gave off a Forrest Gump vibe. I expected to see him run past a camera and then a group of a dozen people behind
I thought he
him.
was running to a car. No, he
Yeah.
ran all
He
the way
ran all
there, and it was time sensitive. I'm like, you can Uber this, Ethan,
Yeah.
for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I think, with a lot of franchises, there are certain elements that make up the franchise. We'll talk about James Bond in a second and stuff like that. But I think people have come to expect to see Tom Cruise running his ass off in each Mission Impossible movie.
But make it part of the like this made no sense. At least in all the other running sequences, I'm like, okay, he's like, Ethan, you're right behind him. You're catching up to him. You're covering the distance. Like, here we go. This one, he's like, I got to get to Luther in time. I'm like, oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna run. Andrew, your thoughts on Mission Impossible?
I've seen every one except for the newest one, and I love them.
Yeah, they're entertaining to some extent.
So I saw the first 3 when they came out in the theater, but it was so long ago, I honestly don't remember them. I really don't remember the third one at all. That's the one that JJ did. So I need to rewatch those first 3. But then from Ghost Protocol on, there's George.
Well. Look who decided to show up.
I'm sorry. I thought Robert was the regular. Go ahead.
No, he's not one of the usual suspects.
Here we
Grab mic 4, put on your
Look at
headphones.
this.
So sorry.
Do
We
not
left
edit
the
this out.
seat
We have-
open for you.
Is the
you guys
camera
are so
good?
Good right
Do
there.
not pass go. Do not collect $200.
I told you he'd make it. I told you he'd make it.
Da, 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 da,
I was like,
da,
oh man, I'm
da.
not buying it. I can't.
I get to see George driving in, and Sam and Dave's "Hold on, I'm coming." It's like he's cracking it.
As you're closing the door behind him, he reaches back and grabs his Indiana Jones fedora, puts it on, and comes
That's
in.
exactly it. Thanks for waiting for me. Or
So
trying to wait for me anyway.
you
Thank
haven't
so
missed
much.
a lot. We've talked about Jurassic World franchise, and we're just wrapping up conversation on the Mission Impossible
Impossible.
franchise.
Oh.
You wanna throw your 2 cents in since we're
Yes.
wrapping up Mission
Am I
Impossible?
still live here?
Oh
You're
yeah.
on,
Okay,
man.
perfect.
We're-
Okay. Yeah. Well, I kind of put this in one of the comments the other day, but my favorite thing was when the Bond franchise got really bad, to the point where it just became cheesy and hokey, and there was a lot of sexual references, and I really had lost all confidence in what a hero could be, like a real hero, without having it to be like Superman or whatever. Along came the Mission Impossible franchise, and it wasn't perfect. There was a lot of hokey stuff, especially with part 2. But it really stepped up the action and the realism, and I felt like Tom Cruise could actually kick everyone's butt. But I did not feel that way about Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan. They were good. They were very British and very sultry and all those good things. But I got the impression that anybody could have kicked their butt.
Mm.
But Tom Cruise was really cool, and I liked his team. So it wasn't just about James Bond; it was about this team. And I think that was great because all of a sudden, then when they came back with James Bond, the Broccoli family, with Casino Royale, is that the first one? Right?
Yeah.
With Daniel Craig.
And I just felt that darn it, what's his name?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel
thank you.
Craig, yeah.
Daniel Craig was like, oh, he could take on 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah.
And there's a part where he's fighting this one guy, and he slits his arm, and the guy starts to bleed out, and he just holds him there. That was terrifying. He's just like, no, this is how it's going to end. He just held him there until the guy bled out, and then he left. It's like, he is not to be messed with, boys and girls.
So-
I loved that.
So
And
this
that
is going to
really
be.
took
So
everything
George
to
bringing up a good point because Tom Cruise can't do this forever, and they're not going to let the Mission Impossible franchise go. So
No.
who is his heir
We'll
apparent?
see.
Oh, good point.
And
No,
speaking
Joe.
of which,
Now we'll see. I don't want Tom Cruise to die. He was
No.
going to die in this damn movie. We have to let the man has a family,
Yeah,
Joe.
yeah,
When is it enough for you, man?
Daniel Craig died.
Yeah, at least the character.
Spoiler alert.
And yet they're
We're
leaving
gonna
this open so that we can.
we're
okay,
gonna get
okay,
to
okay,
James
okay.
Bond in a second.
Anyway, I
We
went
haven't
way
even
too.
gotten to
I
James
went
Bond
way
yet,
too long, but I really love the Mission Impossible franchise for bringing at least some realism. I don't know if that's the right word, but
I have to count it as realism because I didn't think you're going to flip yourself in a plane. You must be. That's CGI. Oh, you really did it. You were trying to commit suicide.
And well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Is Tom Cruise with this film cemented his legacy as one of the last great action movie stars.
I
and there's no
agree.
debating that at all. Whether you agree with
Yes.
his politics or beliefs or whatever, forget all that stuff. What he puts on the movie screen is meant to entertain audiences, and he excels at that.
Whether it's Top Gun, the man wants to entertain,
Yeah.
and God bless him for that.
Yeah, exactly.
He will die on
So-
screen for us.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue our list of franchises. Now, I don't really have these ranked in any order, but since we were talking about James Bond, let's throw that out. 27 movies make up the James Bond franchise. That is incredible to me. 27 movies. It all started in 1962 with Dr. No and Sean Connery introducing the character on film, and came to an end with No Time to Die in 2021. 2 non-canon films I believe, are included in that total. There was Casino Royale in 1967, which I believe had David Niven playing James Bond, and then Never Say Never Again, where Sean Connery returned to the role, but it wasn't sanctioned by the Broccoli family. That was in 1983.
I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that either.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And, that was the Hollywood trope of an aging Sean Connery, making love to a woman who could be his granddaughter. And it's kind of more gross than anything else.
Oh, no. He topped that. He said, "Hold my beer." Catherine Zeta-Jones Entrapment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Romance.
1999. He's like, "I'm old enough to be her grandfather." You probably aren't, Sean, but, hey, she's saying yes.
Yeah, that's Hollywood for you. So the entire franchise has earned $7.9 billion with a B. Actors have included Sean Connery, George Lazenby for one outing on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Roger Moore, who I grew up with watching as James
Me too.
Bond,
Yep.
Timothy Dalton, who had 2 outings. I thought his portrayal was a little dark. I think he makes a better villain than a hero. And then Pierce Brosnan finally gets out of his Remington Steele contract and steps in to take over the role. And I thought he was adequate for several films, but they got a little more ludicrous as they went on. And then, of course, the franchise wrapped up with Daniel Craig. And I would imagine as a condition of him returning to the role, he said, "This is it. Kill me off. I'm done. I can't do this anymore." And it was pretty shocking for me to see Bond get killed in a movie, because that's never happened before.
Yeah.
They just continue, on sort of an alternate reality thing where they just recast the role. So seeing him die in the movie was so final, but obviously James Bond is not dead because they've recast the role and they're going to be doing
Technically, you never saw him die.
Yeah, that's true. But so the
it's a pretty good
question
idea he
is,
died.
if they're going to bring James Bond back to the big screen, which they are, is it going to be a period piece set in the 60s, or is it going to pick up where we leave off? Who knows? We'll find out.
I think it's a full-on reboot, meaning it'll be a new James Bond set now, and it's as this is James Bond starting off, because there's a video game that's coming out, which I think they're trying to correlate with it, showing him graduating to MI status.
Oh, like a
Starfleet Academy
Yeah.
sort of a thing,
Yeah,
like going through the
wow.
There's a
academy.
game that's coming out. It's a
cool.
first-person shooter, and they released trailers.
So
I'm
it's a
not
young.
I'm not sure if they're hinting at who the actor will be. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think along those
They,
lines.
kinda
they
did
still
that in-
haven't chosen anyone.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they had. I thought that the actor from Kick-Ass.
No, that was a rumor.
What's his name? Aaron?
He's in consideration, but that was a rumor. But
I
I heard they
I-
picked.
Oh.
I thought he was.
They're
confirmed.
making announcements soon. They
I'd
have.
love to see a woman.
Yeah.
I would love to see a
Well,
woman.
that
And in
wouldn't be
fact,
James Bond anymore. Do if you're
it would
going to
be-
put
it
a
could be
woman in the
double-
role,
it
just
could
do
be
a
007
new character.
though. I do like that idea. I mean, they've done the same thing with Rogue One, with Star Wars Rogue One. They had, with Star Wars, they had a woman who shows up and takes over being the next Jedi.
Well, that was it's Force Awakens. That was an
Force
entire, and she ended up being Palpatine's granddaughter. Anyway, that was an entirely that. You talk about
Somehow,
franchise-
Palpatine has
franchises that-
survived.
You're talking about just like crashing the Ferrari through the garage.
It's a very small university there, or universe there.
What I apply the what's his face? My God, Johnny Carson rule for James Bond franchise. It's the law of averages. You have 28 movies. All 28 don't have to be great.
Yeah,
If you can get about 51% of it, then it's a great franchise.
yeah.
Because
And they all make money. They all do. It's money in the bank.
But
You know
don't
what's-
you appreciate that Daniel went out on his own terms? Because Roger looked old. I was like, Roger, this is like Emmett Smith going for just retire, man.
Yeah.
Sean
that
going.
last one, A View to a Kill, I think it was, that Roger Moore did. Oh, man. Just
Even though we
hang
had
it up.
Duran Duran is the
Yeah,
song. You
yeah.
can't.
What was he making love to? What was it? Gracie Jones. What was her name?
Well, Grace Jones.
Grace Jones?
Well, that was Pierce.
No,
was
that was
Moore?
Roger. That was Roger.
Moore,
Wasn't it?
it?
Okay.
Is that Christopher Walken as your main?
But that was
Oh,
that was
that's
that was
right.
a really weird
Gracie
love
was the,
scene. It was kind of distasteful to me anyway.
Yeah.
yeah. She was the villainess. She's Christopher Walken's right-hand woman.
Yeah.
So I forgot who his actual love interest in that movie was.
Usually has a few of them in each movie, but
Yeah, that was a bit rough. At
Well,
least
that was the thing also that I appreciated about Daniel Craig is that you knew that he was probably dipping his wick, let's say, to say the least, but he found somebody that he was really tortured by,
yeah.
as was, and I think
That
that
he
was a
ended
ripoff
up
kind of
losing.
Mission Impossible, although I'd have to look and see which came first. But I loved seeing this interview after Casino Royale came out. The first thing that I knew about Daniel Craig was he was giving an interview. I thought, where the heck did this good-looking guy come from? Of course, he'd been in BBC and things like that for a long time, but he was not liked at the very beginning. He's obviously my favorite now. By
Yeah.
far
yeah.
my
They're like, why are you
favorite.
getting this guy from Layer
And-
Cake, the indie movies?
Well,
Like,
I
who's
saw
this
him.
guy?
I saw him in Road to Perdition, where he played sort of a lunatic
Yeah.
villain, and I'm like, oh my god, he's not suited for Bond. But again, he proved me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, the second movie, Quantum of Solace, I was like, because his girlfriend had died. I just call that Angry Bond. He was. what was James's? He's just mad. He's going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
I was like, I have Olga Kurylenko. I'm like, you got a hell of a Bond woman there. I'm not interested. I just want vengeance. Like, okay, James, Jesus,
We'll stand back, yeah.
And
Have a
they
poke and a smile.
established
My God, man.
in Casino Royale, they established that this was not the
Yeah.
James Bond I grew up with. When he ordered a martini or whatever, and they were like, "Would you like it shaken or stirred?" And he's like, "I don't care." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's blasphemy!"
And he had that really attractive Italian woman on that club. And he's
Yeah.
like, do you want champagne for one or two? One. And then he goes because he has to go kill the guy in Miami. I was like, oh, James, you have time. They have multiple flights. What are
Yeah.
you doing? Look at her.
yeah,
But it was interesting to see a Bond in the seat, like actually saying, they're like, you're not a brunette. They've all been brunettes, but you're kind of blonde. And
Mhm.
you've got a much more masculine figure. You don't hide the fact that you're a 007 or something.
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's right. We're trying to do something different with this. And I got to be honest with you, before I hadn't seen it yet. I was a little leery. I'm like, who does this Johnny Jump Up thing? Let's
Yeah.
just get some muscle head. But he has some really great depth.
Yeah.
And I think he started out as an actor first and really got his chops there. And I misread this as they got a Channing Tatum type of a giant thumb looking person to run around. But he's actually he actually has some great depth. And I
Yeah.
really fell in love with his character over the five.
What I loved about the Daniel Craig era compared to, say, the Roger Moore era is when Roger Moore's James Bond took a punch, he would shake it off and then continue going. Daniel Craig took a
Oh.
punch and he is bleeding. And I'm like, oh my God, James Bond is bleeding. And then there's that lengthy torture scene
The
where
chair
he's sitting in
scene.
the chair.
Oh yeah.
And he
And
says,
he-
I have a scratch.
And it
Evidence.
shows you that he has been conditioned to maybe even to the point of being a masochist, where he has been conditioned to almost not just tolerate pain but enjoy it. And I'm like, this is not my father's James Bond.
There's a little bit of the psychoticness. He's like, now I was going to know that you scratched my balls. And I'm like, oh my God, man.
Yeah.
Well, the other part of this is that I'm going to bring Mike Myers into this. There was the spy who shagged me, and it was
the Austin Powers
Austin
movies,
Powers. I
yeah.
think that the Bond franchise had become kind of a meme of itself, right?
yeah.
So when that came out, it was kind of a giant, quiet middle finger to the Bond franchise. Like, you guys are so ridiculous that you've
Yeah.
ruined this.
And
I'm
I
gonna-
can
Because
actually
that was Pierce Brosnan's era, too, when
that
the
came
movies
out.
were coming out.
Now, you can actually go back a little earlier than that, because Roger Moore got into a little trouble with the Broccoli family when he appeared in Cannonball Run. And he spoofed the James Bond character in Cannonball Run, and the Broccoli family was not happy.
Yeah.
They
Wasn't
had
he
the
driving
Aston
a
Martin.
Aston
The
Martin?
DB5.
Yes. Yes.
And, he'd try to use the smoke screen, but the car would fill up with smoke. And, I'm Roger Moore. And who? Roger Moore. And he'd take a punch to the face. So they started spoofing Bond early on, and the Broccoli family was like, So he almost got into some trouble with that. But yeah, you're right. The franchise became spoofable after a while. But there are certain elements that make up your classic James Bond film, and they all sort of came together in the third entry, which is my personal favorite, Goldfinger, 1964. When you look at Goldfinger, you got the Bond car, the Aston Martin DB5, the Bond girl, Pushy Galore, the Bond villain, Goldfinger, the henchman, Odd Job. All of this stuff all sort of came together in Goldfinger and was such a success that became the formula as you move on. And then when Roger Moore came along, his nemesis was Jaws, that he appeared in several James Bond movies. And in The Spy Who Loved Me, we had the Lotus Esprit, which was converted into a sub. And it's one of the most thrilling moments in movie history. And so...
And such an unceremonious end. I'm going to smash the window, and then it detonates. Like, no!
Oh, that was in the next one, I think. For Your Eyes Only, they blew the anti-theft device was a bomb.
Oh, I was so heartbroken. He goes, "Well, you got to find something else to drive or something." It's like you don't just let it go.
Yeah.
He was so mad.
So for me to really enjoy a James Bond movie, it has to have those elements in it. And then they kind of got away from it a little bit. I remember being really flustered when Pierce Brosnan took over in GoldenEye, and they had been promoting his cars, a BMW convertible, a Z3, I think it was. And so they finally introduce it, and Q is like, here are the gadgets, Bond, blah, 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 blah. And then Bond drives it from point A to point B, gets out, gets to a plane, and I'm like, what did I miss?
Did you introduce all
there was no car chase. There was nothing.
Isn't the rule if you introduce a gun, it's got to
Yeah,
go off
you
at some point?
Use it at some point.
So,
What was left on the behind the scene, the editing room floor is Q threatening his family. You dent this car, I will murder you and your offspring. Bond, I'm not playing with you.
Yeah. So I feel that when the franchise deviates from those elements that you expect, it kind of hurts the film a little bit. And even, I have to say, when Daniel Craig came on board, those early movies, they deliberately said, okay, this is not the Bond you've grown up with. But then after a couple of films, they started to embrace that stuff. And one of my favorite films in the entire franchise is Skyfall.
Yes.
And there's a moment when him and M, right? They're on foot running around.
Is this Fiennes?
And
Ralph Fiennes?
No. The woman,
Judi
Judi Dench.
Oh, Judi Dench.
She was
Pardon
M
me.
in
I'm
Skyfall.
sorry. Yeah.
And so they're on foot. They're vulnerable. They go to this garage, open the door. There's the Aston Martin DB5, the classic one. And you hear that dun 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 dun. And I had goosebumps. I almost cried.
I had tears. I'm not even joking.
So
yes.
when Bond embraces the elements that makes Bond, it's
She even
awesome.
says that she's arguing. He flips up the thing. Oh, go ahead, eject me. See if I can.
He's threatening to eject her out of the DB5.
See if I can.
Those were great moments, and Skyfall ranks right up there with the greatest films.
That's a perfect situation where the car is a character.
Yeah.
You know? It's part of the. we got to get the DB5.
One of the greatest movie cars of all time.
What
do you guys think of? Now we're talking about franchises, Andrew. I mean, Bezos now owns Bond. Amazon bought it from the Broccoli family. So now,
we'll see.
yes, there.
We'll see.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next one, I want to do a lightning round. Favorite Bond movie? Imaginos Pete, go.
Oh, Skyfall.
Andrew, favorite Bond movie? Caught him off guard.
Yeah. Maybe Casino Royale.
Okay. All right.
I haven't seen all of them, and I off the top of my head I can't remember which ones from the '60s I've seen. Haven't seen. I've seen probably a little more than half of them altogether.
I've seen every single one of them, and most of them in the theater. George, your favorite Bond movie?
The Spy Who Loved Me, because that's where I fell in love with.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's probably my second favorite movie behind
my
Goldfinger.
second favorite movie.
But a lot of people dismiss it because it's from the Roger Moore era. But
I
has
grew
all
up
the
with
great
Roger
elements.
Moore. I went to the movie theater with my entire family. That's before they had PG-13, and that's when the Lotus goes into the water, right?
Yeah.
The Bond villain was fantastic. Anyway, that was so fun to me. And people said, well, he's not the real James Bond. I'm like, who are you talking about? Sean Connery. Who the heck is Sean Connery compared to Roger Moore? As Roger Moore got older, it became even more of a joke. What was it called? The one in outer space?
Moonraker.
Was kind of ridiculous.
Silly. They were trying to capitalize on the Star Wars popularity. Yeah.
And we lost, and I lost faith in them. But there was that, and For Your Eyes Only, and maybe one other one.
And A View to a Kill was his last film.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and the one that introduced Roger Moore was
Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die.
Oh, Live and
Paul
Let
McCartney's
Die.
song.
Seymour.
Yeah.
Oh, smoking
Oh,
Bo Body there,
man.
yeah.
Even though that movie's dated really badly, like there's some really uncomfortable
See, there's
kind of racist overtones in that movie.
Yeah, there's some misogynistic and there's a lot of really heavy overtones, and also just some really bad pervy kind of.
You lean into the early Sean Connery from Russia with Love. I'm like, oh, this is not going to age well at all. When he starts like smacking her on the train, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah. So there's some elements that didn't age very well. But what you were saying about, I grew up with Roger Moore, and then when people were saying, well, he's no Sean Connery, I went back and started watching the Sean Connery movies, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Sean Connery's awesome. He's pretty great in those movies. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next franchise. And gosh, I don't even know if we're going to be able to get to all these because we can go do in-depth digs on all of these. But I just want to throw this out. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, I consider one franchise. I don't necessarily want to get into all the individual movies, but there were 37 total movies or projects that make up the Marvel Cinematic Universe to date, including Thunderbolts and the upcoming Fantastic Four. This probably just might be the highest grossing franchise out of everything on my list. It's grossed $13 billion, topped by Endgame, which alone grossed $858 million. And most people agree that it kicked off with Iron Man in 2008. So for me personally, from Iron Man to Endgame was about a 10-year period.
Yep.
And that was
18 movies.
That was a great period, especially for young people going to the movie theaters to see each one of those characters get introduced in standalone films, and then they team up for Avengers, and they just got bigger and bigger. But Marvel seemed to handle these ensemble casts pretty well. For me personally, it all sort of came to an end with Endgame, and then everything after Endgame, I just don't really care about or pay attention to. But that 10-year period from Iron Man to Endgame was glorious.
They had almost a 90% success rate. Like, not every movie, all 18 movies leading up to Endgame were great. I mean, some were just mediocre, but overall, because there was a thread building up to it, you were like, okay, there's some structure. Could you imagine navigating like iceberg waters with a huge ship and so many fans, and then saying, okay, we got through the worst stuff. You hand it over to the new guy. The guy then turns around and says, watch me Titanic this thing. Like, you turn back into the icebergs and then ram it in there. Because that's
a great analogy.
Those back 12 movies like anything after Endgame, they lost the thread.
Yeah, I think they got arrogant. They were like, oh, we could do no wrong, kind of like Pixar. Pixar could do no wrong for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, I guess they got arrogant and complacent, and you're like, what happened? What happened?
I think what happened is they really screwed up the lore. Like, they created a universe.
It got too big.
And then what they did is people started to say, well, how can you have multiple, like, Gothams or New Yorks or whatever? Because you can't destroy everything without other people knowing about it. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's why you have Endgame and one where they all come together. But I think one of the problems was, and this is a side note, I really think that the reason that we didn't have Marvel before the 2000s is because we didn't have CGI.
Yeah.
And so once we saw, and I saw the trailer, I still have it on my computer somewhere, where they show Tobey Maguire spinning his web through New York, and suddenly he creates, this is before the towers went down, he creates a big web, and he gets the bad guys in the web. I just looked at that for the longest time. This is right after Lord of the Rings came out, and I was like so excited. And the CGI was new, and it was like, now we can do this properly. Now we don't have to use a green screen for everything.
I mean, you and I grew up in an era with the Incredible Hulk TV show, the Spider-Man TV show, which was awful.
It was terrible.
Captain America with a motorcycle helmet.
It was terrible.
The world wasn't ready to depict superheroes on the screen in the 70s and 80s. I think the modern superhero era kind of started with Batman in 1989, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
I mean, you had
it really peaked.
But I think the
CGI... Christopher Reeve, Superman. the first one.
Yeah,
Despite the absurdity of
you're
flying
right.
backwards.
You're right. Yeah, I'll concede that Superman was sort of the modern, we can do the superhero thing, right? Even though one interesting thing about the Superman franchise, which we'll talk about in a moment, is the first one, like the special effects and everything were pretty groundbreaking. But by the time they got to the fourth one, they started looking bad. Like they were cutting the budget on these movies.
I
Like,
said-
what are you doing? You had it right, and then you started screwing it
A
up.
lot of Ferraris in ditches.
Sorry, yeah. So anyway, the final thought on the CGI thing is I think that they were just finding out what they could do,
Yeah.
and they were so excited about all of the wonderful little. We can have them do this. Well, we can make the whole world look like this, and then you had Harry Potter come out, and all of a sudden the CGI became much more malleable. And I remember sitting in a theater, and it just looked like it looked like what they had done is taken all of the lead characters, put them in a ring, and it was one of the multiple ones. It wasn't Endgame, but put them in a ring of people all facing outward. And they're all just kind of doing.
Oh, that was
this.
Avengers, yeah.
Avengers, and they're all just kind of punching, and like these spirits or these things are hitting them, and they're just kind of deflecting. It doesn't even look real, and I got to the point it felt like a James Bond, like an old James Bond movie, where it was just ridiculous, and it didn't look realistic, and they were trying to come to some kind of a crescendo that never happened to me, and and then the whole, like, it was like a city, and then the city was supposed to crash, and I think they made fun of that in the Legos movie Batman, which was awesome because they totally screwed with them on that one. But I think the CGI really was, how far can we take it, and how does the story follow along to our ability to do that CGI?
Yeah.
And I think then later on they're like, okay, what we've done is we've played with we've chased shiny objects rather than having, to your point, the universe makes sense. And those first 10 years were awesome. And by the way, Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. 2, maybe not as much, but 1, 2, and 3 are just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's what kicked off this whole thing.
Agreed.
And I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. hadn't nailed Tony Stark, I don't know if we would have had that 10 years of bliss.
Remember Tom Cruise auditioned for it? There was footage of him applying as Tony Stark.
Oh,
Yeah.
Imagine if he had. I mean, I love Tom Cruise, but RDJ is just
he had that
phenomenal.
snarky, cocky
Arrogant.
attitude that was just so perfect.
Yeah.
And, in the comic books, Tony Stark had some vices, and Robert Downey Jr. has lived that. And so he was able to bring that to the role where Stark had his
Good point.
problems too. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's hard for me to pick a favorite from that decade, but, Iron Man kicked the whole thing off. I loved the retro vibe of Captain America, the first Avenger,
that
being
was
set
cool.
during World War II.
That was very cool.
And I loved when they brought all the characters together for the Avengers. I'm
first
thinking,
one,
man,
yeah.
this is something they could really mess up, because any movie where you try to just throw too many characters on the screen, like say a Batman and Robin or whatever, it just never works. But somehow they gave all of those characters an opportunity to shine, and it was funny, and they were at each other's throats.
I have to give Josh Whedon credit.
Yeah.
I was nervous about Avengers, the first one, but when it came out, you want to sit down and be entertained, that movie entertains you all the way through.
Yeah.
Like you melded all that many characters together. You had the villain, and it had the end with that Thanos reveal. I was like, okay, wow, you threaded the needle. I mean,
yeah. And if you were to come up with a top 10 list of villains, Loki has to be up there. He's one of the greatest
Tom
movie
Hiddleston
villains
is
of all time.
phenomenal.
What a performance!
What a
That was
performance
great.
is
Like
right.
you liked the villain.
I did like the, and I was kind of
Yeah.
secretly rooting for
and he
him.
auditioned for Thor, and they were like,
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he
Didn't
did.
know that.
I would love
Wow.
to see Tom Hiddleston look like.
He had the blonde wig. It was on Kimmel or Fallon, and they dug up his audition tape and they showed it.
Wow.
That's him going like, and he holds the hammer, and he's into it. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah. No, he was perfectly suited for Loki, and it makes you realize everything happened for a reason.
John Krasinski, the guy who does Jack Ryan on The Office,
Sure.
he had auditioned for Captain America.
Yep.
You saw
he
Andrew,
would have been great, but Chris Evans is also
no,
quite
but
good.
I think Andrew was telling me this. He got into the suit. He's like, I'm feeling superheroish, and then Chris Hemsworth walks by in Thor,
And he goes,
oh, okay, yeah, great. He takes off the suit. He's like, I'm not
Yeah.
Evans built or Chris Hemsworth built. Yeah.
Right,
Chris
right.
Hemsworth
Yeah, he
was-
really would have
really
had to bulk
nailed
up for
it.
that.
He just
Nailed
walks
it.
by in the store outfit. All right, mate. It's like, yeah, 1 second, and just takes off the Captain America. Said, "I'm good. I thank you for your
Was
time."
that kind of a joke or was that a literal scene? It sounds awfully staged.
No. He was saying this is behind the scenes, like when he came in for the audition.
Yeah.
And so everyone was trying to
So
wear
when
the
he
suits
saw
on, so-
Chris, he realized he was out of his league.
and he's
He's
like
out of his league.
he's
It's
like,
Justice League.
It's probably better that Chris Evans took it.
Yeah,
it's probably,
yeah.
It's probably for
All right,
the best.
lightning round. Favorite Marvel movie? Nick?
Oh, I'd have to go with Avengers.
Avengers
And
favorite? Okay.
because first Avengers my second favorite because I love World War II.
Yeah. Andrew, first favorite Marvel movie.
Might have to go with that first Captain. I loved it.
Interesting.
Like we
I
talked
did
about
too.
before, it's got that visual feel of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it takes place in the 40s, almost like a sepia tone.
Yeah.
to it.
It did.
And
great villain too. Red Skull.
Yeah,
was
Red
great
Skull
in
was
it.
great.
Yeah.
Yep.
George, favorite Marvel movie?
I really like the first Wolverine. Does that count?
Yeah,
Really?
it counts.
I did
They-
like
they-
that
they
because
own it now.
I thought Hugh Jackman. I had seen him in what was it? Not Carousel, but I'd seen him in some musicals, and I thought,
Les Miserables.
no,
No,
how was
he-
it? Hugh Jackman was. I mean,
He
he's
was
obviously.
in Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman,
Was
yeah.
he in that one?
Oh, he,
Yeah.
well, he's
Oh,
been in
and-
a lot of things.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I saw him on Broadway twice.
Oh,
in,
wow.
In Music Man, and he was just with Sutton Foster, and he slimmed himself way down. By the way, as a side note, when he walked out, it was right in the middle of somebody's thought or something like that, and the whole place just erupted.
Oh,
You couldn't-
sure. You got to.
It just
He's a
stopped.
movie
Everything just
star.
stopped. He was just
Yeah.
fantastic. Here was Wolverine, 30 feet from us.
Interesting. That's cool.
But he looked the part. He was so cool. I don't think they did enough with his background story until later, which was kind of, I think, too late. I love origin stories. And they always, they're so awesome, but they always, not always, often get effed up. And it makes me
Well,
so mad.
the problem I have with origin stories, when you do it once, that's fine. But when you redo it, like in the Spider-Man franchise, you told his origin story, then you do it again and you change it, and they keep redoing origin stories. Like, do it one and be done with it. It's like that character on Seinfeld. Take one bite and end it.
are
Just
you talking
don't
about
do
this?
multiple.
The one from 2009?
Is that the first one? Not Origins.
Well, he was introduced in X-Men.
Yeah.
But
Are
then
you talking about the first
he-
X-Men movie or the first Wolverine movie?
The first Wolverine movies. Is this
So
it?
that was-
2009.
Okay.
Well, then technically the first Wolverine movie is X-Men since it was all about him.
It did.
It did
kinda
feel like it was all
revolve.
about him.
Yeah, and he stole that movie.
Yeah.
He was great in that. They were like, "Oh, we got a cool Wolverine."
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm
with
super.
Ryan Reynolds as the Weapon X or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And Liv Schreiber
Well, he
as
was Deadpool, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes, that's it. If that's the one with Liv Schreiber, that's
Okay.
it. Did you like that one or not?
I didn't like it. I'm a
Oh.
huge X-Men fan, but
I've liked all the
I thought it was
Wolverine movies.
okay.
Then I'm gonna then
Logan was the best.
Then
by far.
as the same, Logan was great, but as at the same rate, I think I could take Iron Man too.
Yeah.
Just Iron Man #1
Yeah,
also,
that launched the whole thing.
just
yeah.
phenomenal.
All right, we're going to try and pick up the pace a little bit because we've still got a lot to talk about, and we're almost a full hour into the podcast. I'm going to throw out the 12 movies that make up the Star Wars franchise, starting with the movie I call Star Wars. You might call it A New Hope. It'll always be Star Wars to me. Kicked off in 1977, changed my life, changed movie making, changed merchandising, changed everything, had such a huge impact in 1977. The last theatrical release was Rise of Skywalker, 2019, which I thought was one of the worst movies I've ever seen and heartbreaking for me because I love the Star Wars franchise so much, and it concluded on some really terrible movies directed by Rian Johnson, who I felt maybe his motivations were sincere, but to me it felt like a big middle finger where he started introducing superpowers that were never introduced in any previous Star Wars movies, but
The
now all of a sudden
midichlorian count?
Jedis can force project themselves across the universe. It's like, where did this come from?
No, and see when okay. So let's go back to the very first thing you said. You said this is the change of your life. As a kid, that's not an understatement.
Mhm.
That was a gigantic shift because all
Yeah.
of a sudden, when I came to school, there were kids with Luke Skywalker. Now,
Mhm.
who's Luke Skywalker? What do you mean? You
Yeah.
haven't seen, and I hadn't seen Star Wars for the longest time. My sister had to take me because my parents thought it was a very religious people, didn't want me to go.
Mhm.
When I saw it, I was completely shocked.
Yeah.
And nobody tells you, like a kid, they don't tell you everything. It's just full of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
As I got older, I thought, well, maybe when I get older, I'll understand it.
Yeah.
No, it just happens.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be explained,
It-
which was a mistake
it's
later
wonderful.
on when they started
Yes,
explaining
that's my
the
point.
science behind the Force. No.
Oh, look, he's got a high
No.
midichlorian count, which
Yeah.
they trashed on in Was it Robo Chicken? What's it called?
Robot chicken. Yeah.
Robot Chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they did that because you don't explain something. It's better to just assume that
I
it's there.
agree.
You're very right on that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Now, as a kid, I watched The Wizard of Oz every year. There were certain movies I enjoyed as a kid, but Star Wars was the first movie I felt like was made for me. Like, it was mine. It spoke to me. And like you said, going to school, and we're all wearing our iron-on T-shirts with Luke
Yes,
and Darth
with the-
Vader and
and the-
C-3PO.
And the thing peels off. What is it called? Those
Oh, yeah.
iron-on
They
things
get cracked and stuff.
cracked. And that was a
But
badge
that
of
was like-
honor. Wear
yeah.
it until it trashed out.
Man, I bonded with my friends over that movie. And
I knew somebody
yeah.
who had a Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
You have
Oh, that was sure. That was probably the greatest Christmas present I ever got in my
that.
life.
I would have killed to
yeah.
got that.
It was amazing.
But kids would talk about, Obi-Wan, like, oh, that guy's, Obi-Wan or something like that. Just at the time, I had to see it multiple times. Then when
Yeah.
it came out on VHS, you could watch it a bunch of times, and that
Yeah.
made it more. But what was great, and I might be stealing your thunder,
no, go ahead.
Star Wars was great. Empire was like, oh God, these guys are taking this to the next level. There was real momentum.
Yeah.
You had to wait a long time for
Yeah,
that.
3 years. Every 3 years we got a new
Yeah.
Star Wars movie. And what was amazing about Empire is even though it was fantastic sci-fi, futuristic, weird creatures, it felt very real and had weight to it, and there were consequences.
Yeah.
Yes,
Luke
consequences.
Skywalker got his ass
Ass
kicked
kicked.
repeatedly in that movie.
Yes, he did.
And we were like, oh my God, he's supposed to be the hero, and he just got his butt kicked.
They're such bad mentors when you think about it. It's like, so had you guys not spoken in your weird code language, I'd still have a hand. Well, you wanted to go find out. You F around and find out. Well, you did, kid. Now you learned you something, didn't you? Lost your hand. What did we learn? Listen to the weird people.
Yeah, yeah.
That opening scene with the Tauntaun and having Han Solo save Luke Skywalker
Yeah.
because he got his ass kicked.
Yeah, and
meant
wielding a lightsaber.
so much
yeah.
to me
Yeah, yeah.
because he didn't come back as the Golden Child. Now, in Jedi, he does come back in this very all-knowing, and he still
Yeah.
gets his butt kicked. But you're exactly right,
Yeah.
and to have him be fallible was so important to me. I
It was.
loved that.
Yeah,
I-
you need vulnerability in your heroes.
I think Han Solo stole Empire Strikes Back because you saw that.
Oh yeah,
that
was
you talk
his
about
movie. in
the
a lot
love
of
interest.
ways.
Like there were women at the time like I love Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher on that because he was like, would it help if I got him pushed? It might. It's like you could use a good kiss.
I could arrange.
Yeah,
that
I mean
in
he
the
was just like that.
But there was also the fact that Mark Hamill had been in a car wreck,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
he looked and still looks different than what he looked like.
That
in
was
the
major
first one.
Yeah.
reconstruction because he went through the windshield.
He did, yeah. And I was impressed with the fact that he came back on that. But
Yeah.
I also fell in love with Han Solo and Carrie Fisher. And
yeah, they're dynamic. Yeah.
she was so smoking hot in that outfit.
Well,
I'm sorry.
They give us, our teenage kids going through puberty got to have to watch her in a bikini and like, what are you doing to me, George? Man,
I know, but at the first one, she was presented as kind of like this virtuous virgin.
Yeah.
She wore white.
tough girl, but
And
yeah,
she-
Tough girl.
princess. Yeah.
You notice how she had a different accent in the first movie compared
Yeah,
to
it kind of came and went. And I remember hearing an explanation that when she was dealing with like Grand Moff Tarkin, she would
More
turn on
dignified.
the royal accent. But then when she was with her friends, she became more New York or whatever.
She was a little more Jersey. Will someone
Yeah.
get this big walking carpet out of my way? I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, lady, we're here to save you, and you're picking on the one.
Maybe you'd like it better in your cell, Your Highness. So yeah, the movie has grossed over $10 billion. Now, there was a long period of time between Return of the Jedi and then the Phantom Menace, which was a terrible title. But there was so much anticipation. I don't know if you guys remember, like, watching the news, and they're like, we got the new trailer for Phantom Menace. And we're like, it was newsworthy.
I saw
And
people cheering
the
the
theaters
theater.
were, yeah.
You see
people would,
Lucasfilm come up there.
people
the
would
green-
buy a ticket to watch the trailer and then leave.
Oh.
That was for Eyes Wide Shut. I remember when it came out at the time. People came like, who the hell are these people? Like, why? First, I was either that or the Blair Witch Project, and I went to go see Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going, okay, all right, so wow, there are a lot of people must want to see Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in this weird movie. Phantom Menace comes on, half the theater gets up and walks out. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
How
So,
many times have you seen Phantom Menace?
maybe a dozen or so. I mean, I've seen it many, many
I
times.
think
but
I've seen it twice.
It's hard. It gets harder and harder to watch with
Yeah.
the passage of time.
Yeah.
And the last time I tried watching it, I was kind of getting into it. You know, they try to kill Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. And they do the thing with the lightsaber where they stick it in the door and the door's melting. And I'm like, ooh, we've never seen that before.
Where did that come
And
from?
that was really cool. And then all of a sudden, Misa. And I was like, oh, no, what is happening here?
No, that's the speed run, which they never use again when they absolutely need it.
Pew! Yeah, so my problem specifically with Phantom Menace was Jar Jar. And it's obvious in the next two films that they really reduced his role.
But in hindsight, I love that Ewan McGregor lead into it in that first movie. He's like, why do I feel we picked up another pathetic life form? He's talking about a kid, but he doesn't know about it because he's so pissed off with Jar Jar. And his master's like, why do I feel like we picked up another pathetic
Well,
life
okay,
form?
if we're going to go off on a side tangent, I mean, Disney could not, if you held a gun to anybody's head, to anybody at Disney's head, they would not do any kind of a Disney movie with an African American. They just would not. So finally comes out The Lion King, and they throw Matthew Broderick in it. Okay, so there's a little rabbit hole that we've gone down. So when it comes to Star Wars, you have
Lando
Calrissian.
Yeah.
And he's so good, and he's got such presence, and he's on it for
Oh.
precious few minutes.
Yeah.
I
How you
thought that
doing, Chewbacca? He was
And
great in it.
He was great.
You want
and-
a Colt 45?
And so then they come out, and they've got the opportunity to have Asians, and they make them obviously these very
Caricatures.
slit eyes, and then you've got Jar Jar Binks, who is, what is he, Jamaican?
That's what that's what he's evoking, and the story behind that.
It's actually kind of
And it was Ahmed Best who played that.
Yeah.
it's actually kind of offensive in my opinion.
In a way,
Yeah.
and the story behind it is Ahmed Best did the voice on set, never expecting it to make the final cut, but the cast and crew got so used to him being on set, they said, well, let's just use his voice, which was a mistake.
I think that's a story.
And I saw a fan edit of The Phantom Menace where they replaced Jar Jar's voice with like an alien dialect with subtitles. It is infinitely more watchable than what we got.
Wow.
It was a lot more tolerable.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, they like kind of deepened his voice, gave him just an alien dialect, but then they
Ah.
put subtitles on the screen. And I'm like, this was the movie we needed back in, what was it, 97? So yeah, and then this, people say that the prequels got better as they went along, but there's a lot of flaws. The acting is pretty weak. Even Natalie
Whoa.
Portman admits.
Prequels
that-
got better. Attack of the Clones was a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
where that came
most
from.
people.
I've only seen that
Well,
once.
I think they got better as they went
Yeah,
from 1 to 2, 2 to 3.
Well, the little boy that they had in the first one was a dud. And
yeah. His
the
acting
background
was
story there,
atrocious, Yeah,
the background story was spotty. It had a number of flaws.
and over-explained everything with the Trade Federation and a blockade and blah, and the way the system of government works. I don't need to know all that. Give me a pew pew.
Yeah, and you've got little kids. So the question at that point is who you trying to appease?
Yeah.
Who's this?
Because that's not going to appeal to a kid learning
Appeal.
about a trade blockade. They don't need that.
Maybe the kids of the parents who were kids when they saw the first movie.
I guess.
So I
don't
think
know.
Star Wars, the original Star Wars 4, A New Hope, one of the reasons it looks so cool is it's got that weight, it's got that gravity, it's got that
got that-
realism, it's got that tie with actual physical props
Instead
of
of
actual.
instead of Flash Gordon shiny spaceships and a futuristic look, they
and
were
I do like
those
that.
vehicles were beaten and rusted and modified in Star Wars and
But you know what's the weirdest thing? When I saw Rise of Skywalker, and this was the last movie I saw before the pandemic, and it took me years to get back into the movie theater after that. So I had that taste in my mouth that I
Yeah.
couldn't get rid of. There were fans, there were people cheering in there, and I, you know what I, when I realized that, and like kind of what Joe said, it's not my Star Wars. My bus stop was Return of the Jedi, and I'm okay with that. I was like, okay, it's yours. If you guys like it, Mazel Tov, because this is not my Star Wars. But there were people cheering, and they were so happy. They're like, yeah. They were when Lando made his appearance with all the ships in the last movie. They're like, oh, there are people cheering. Like I remember you talk about people cheering, that energy in the. Yeah. And I was kind of looking around, left and around, like, who was cheering? These were all people like under 30.
Wait, you're saying that you were watching
Rise of Skywalker, the episode 9, in the theater at Great Lakes Crossing, and there were fans cheering. And I looked around, like, why are you cheering? But hey, it spoke to them. And I said, hey, I'm the old man, like, hang on, guys, this is my bus stop. You guys have a good time now. And it's like in San Francisco, the trolley goes down the hill and it's going somewhere, and then you hear it crash into traffic. I'm like, oh, okay, they're having a good time.
Now, since you brought up
interesting analogy,
since he brought up the sequels, this kind of piggybacks on your comment about African Americans in the Star Wars movies. In The Force Awakens, John Boyega is introduced as Finn. He put on an incredible performance. He was the hero of the film along with Rey. And this was an opportunity for Disney and the Star Wars franchise to make a woman and an African American the stars of the film. The second one comes out, they relegate him to an extra. They push his character. He gets knocked out of the storyline and makes no contribution the rest of the
And I showed
franchise.
up to see him.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what?
He should
why
be.
are you?
John Boyega
He was
should
walking
be
around.
furious
He
with
was
the way
walking
he
around.
was treated in that franchise.
I agree.
They turned him into the butt of the joke. He's walking around in that little suit, leaking healing water. He's like, why am I injured? Because he got injured, and he's walking around in that. I'm like, what are you doing? It's almost like a. It was bad. It was.
They botched that arc, that storyline. They decided to focus on Rey, and I think that was a huge mistake.
I did like Rey.
Yeah.
I did like Rey.
She was a strong female character,
and that was really cool to see that. And I thought she owned that, but at the price of leaving a lot of people that I just recently fell in love with a few years before. And then they did Rogue One, which I thought was absolutely, to me, I loved it.
Yes. Well, if I was to rank the Star Wars movies, obviously, the first 3 that I saw, those are 1, 2, and 3 for me. Rogue One is 4.
Yeah,
me too.
Rogue One blew me away.
It blew me, and to have them all die, I'm like, wait,
that was
could we not have taken the last half hour and gone in another direction? Didn't you see it? What a great chemistry that these guys had.
The problem was the timeline that had been established that follows it. None of those characters, spoiler alert, appear in A New Hope, so they had to come up with a way to off them.
They originally had a version where Andor and Jin make it off the planet.
Oh, okay.
But then they went with another, because you see in the trailer version when they're running on the beach.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I never saw this part, because in that version they made it off the.
But that's the part where everything explodes, right?
No, but they make it off. There's a transport ship that Jin and
in that version they actually
and then they recut it and they made it where everyone died.
Yeah.
And then they also added they're like, can we get one more scene in there? And then they put the Vader scene in there at the last second.
And that's one of the greatest moments in the entire Star Wars franchise. That was so
he's terrifying,
badass to show when he was at his peak of power, what he was capable of.
The running joke was it explained a joke from 1977. Where are the plans? I'm like, hey, Vader, if you're going to ask the dude a question before you break his neck, or is it just a rhetorical one, then just murder him. It's like, where are the plans?
Yeah.
Like, this is a diplomatic ship.
Strangles him before he
can't. Like, who asked the question then murders the dude? If I was the stormtrooper, my lord, maybe he should have answered before you broke him. You want some? I'll get you too.
Yeah. That character was
Trump.
terrifying.
Excuse me.
Because then at least now he sees the ship going away. So I'm like, oh, and I know you're lying to me. We're a diplomatic ship. Like, son of a bitch, I saw your ship going away. I got the license plate. I know you're lying to me.
What's great is you cue the robot chicken where he's squeezing the guy's neck, and the little girl is sitting there. The guy brings, I don't know if you guys have seen this, where he brings the little girl to work day or whatever like that. She's like, she's off to the side. And Vader goes, oh. And he's holding the guy by the neck and saying, oh, I'm sorry. I'm a big scary man. It's so great.
So unfortunately for me, the sequels were lackluster, disappointing. There were moments in the theater where I'm like, I hate these movies. Like, take even with The Force Awakens, as much as I found that entertaining, they botched the whole Luke Skywalker thing. Here, imagine this. Imagine J.J. Abrams and Disney and the filmmakers, they get Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, everybody to sign on. How do you not put them on all together on the screen? And they just introduced Mark Hamill in the last 30 seconds of the film.
What was that all
what
about?
a disaster.
And then the piece de resistance on that crap Sunday, the opening of the movie. I don't want. I'm just going to stay here. I'm like, dude, you're needed out there.
Yeah.
We found you. I'm going to hear and have this green milk. So now, not blue milk. Now it's green milk, right from the udder, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
They really
Luke,
botched that. And even Mark Hamill has been interviewed where he trashed the sequels, and then Disney were like, "Hey, Mark, can we have a little chat with you?" They go off stage. Mark comes back and says, I'm
so happy.
These movies are like
It's like a Trump cabinet member. What?
Yeah.
Come here. I want to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I meant to say was there's no Epstein file.
There was no Epstein.
There's no Epstein file.
So I don't care what anyone says.
So here's the
those-
question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, anyone who tells me, those sequels were great. No, they were not. I don't care what you say. They were not great.
They were another universe and another thing, but I want to ask a larger question of all of the franchise things. When a franchise, at some point, the first movie starts out, and nobody knows how it's going to go. Star Wars starts out, James Bond starts out. Nobody knows how it goes. They're wildly popular, or at least popular enough to get things going.
Yeah.
I think with the Harry Potter franchise, we haven't talked about yet, and there might need to be a part 2 of franchises.
Oh
by the
no!
way.
I know we're
There's
getting
over
there.
60 when this topic came up. Andrew brought up this topic. I looked it down. I was like, I have 60 franchises and we're still running. And this is not even. We're talking about Rocky and The Godfather because anything with 3 movies is a franchise.
Well, and that's something I meant to mention at the beginning of the podcast.
Okay, I want to finish
To
my thought.
limit the number of titles we discuss here, I was going to say 4 or more movies because I consider 3 movies a trilogy, 4 movies a franchise.
Okay, that would have been good. So
yeah.
so the question is, does the franchise, once it gets up and going, now it becomes political? Now there's expectations. George Lucas comes out and he says, everybody's yelling at me and screaming at me because they hate the fact that I've destroyed what they thought, with the whole midichlorian thing and with it over-explaining things and adding in people that didn't need to be there. I think that it's a very special thing to have a franchise continue on because you're going to get the Mission Impossible parts 2. You're going to get the Harry Potter's part 5 or whichever one is a complete dumpster fire. And I think the Harry Potter franchise actually does quite well. You get the Rogue One, which comes out, and you're like, thank God for that. And so the question is, with most of these franchises, you're going to see that they're under an enormous amount of pressure from the studios, from the fans, from people to say, wow me again like you did the first time.
Yeah.
And that is really almost impossible to do, to catch lightning in a bottle. And yet the stakes are much higher. The advertising is much higher. The plush dolls and all of the things all of that becomes and that just to me adds to the pressure cooker, which is so interesting because when they did create Star Wars, to me, who the hell knew about Star Wars? And when it came out, this is a Western in outer space. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They're using swords instead of guns.
Yeah.
They've got gun technology, but they'd prefer swords.
Yeah.
It seems so ridiculous, and yet it worked.
Yeah.
And yet everything worked. And so when that happened, it was such an act of, to me, bravery to create something from a script that's so strange and so weird and so out there, and it works. And from there, everybody it's a hard right turn. And then you bring the second one in, and I expect another hard right turn. It's never going to be as hard right as that first one, where I'm completely shook up. And by the third, fourth, and fifth one, it all kind of becomes this deep, rut that everybody's in. So it's special when it really is able to continue to grab our attention, to keep things going. And the Marvel franchise for 10 years somehow did that. The Harry Potter franchise, call it what you want, it's pretty darn good, in my opinion.
And the reason for that, and I feel so strongly about this, is I think some of the most successful movies and most successful franchises started out as the written word. Harry Potter's based on a series of books written by J.K. Rowling. that's what makes a great movie is it's written out first, then you make the movie. One of the problems with the Star Wars sequels, I don't think they knew what the hell they were doing. I don't think they knew where the story was going to go.
They did.
They made
I
it
think
up
you're
as they
right.
went along.
And we
So-
thought they did. We thought that they had an overarching arc.
Yeah.
We thought that they had all of that, and it didn't happen.
No.
They
And that
did.
was so disappointed because the gods of this universe were running around like a Trump cabinet.
But
Didn't really know what they were doing.
But the thing is, they did have had they waited, they spent 4 point something billion to acquire Star Wars,
Yep.
and then just you have this brand new shiny toy. Take your time, read the manual, and you'll
Thank
be
you.
fine.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
take, it's like, oh, I found a toy. Snap. I
Yeah.
broke it. I'm like, yeah, you just did because it doesn't bend like that. If you
You just described me putting together every piece of furniture I've ever put together.
but to read the manual, but
I
that's
had
the
to
thing.
disassemble it
There
and
was,
put it
but there
together
was
again.
so much written material. Mark told me this. My friend Imaginos. He says when they did the Clone Wars, the TV series, and they were finding a lot of success, especially when they started talking about the Mandalorians, the guys that like Boba Fett type,
Yeah.
his civilization. He was like, man, there's a lot of stuff on here. And then all of a sudden, Tony Gilroy, and those guys, they come and put all these books down that George signed off on over the decades.
Yeah.
That was just
That
great
were
stories.
beloved.
And he's like, "Oh, when did this happen?" Like, George, that's your signature on there. You signed up, you collected the checks, and you let people populate your world. And we're using this, and it's popular. So there was a written thing, but then Disney says, "All that's not canon anymore. Get it out of here."
Yeah.
And we're like,
Yeah, they scrapped
What?
everything. The Heir to the Empire.
"Yeah, there was stuff that they could have built that
novelizations.
would
that they
Yeah.
could have flushed out, that people like,
for
Yeah.
fleshed out, that
They
people could have loved.
scrapped it all, and it was all there.
Yeah.
It's like you said. They got past the iceberg, and then they turned around
But
and
you know
crashed
what?
into
But
it.
this is what George even said. This George too, but Lucas, when he said in the '60s, all the old movie studios sold out to like Coke, Pepsi, and like all these other companies that had no idea what movie studios were. They just went with focus groups, and that's why you
Yes.
didn't know what. At least, but the focus groups back then said we were young, we want something new. They went
Yeah.
and found the Lucas, they went and found the De Palmas, the
Yeah.
Spielbergs, who were looking into stories. The new corporations were like, hey, just toys, go. Make
Yeah.
it fast. I want something. Just JJ. And when he says,
Make the trailer look good. Everything else can fall behind it, and we don't really care.
Of
Just
course-
get them in there to see it.
A Force Awakens is almost a copy of Star Wars.
It
A New
is.
Hope.
It's a rehash.
Yeah.
Well, when they blow up oh no, they've got a death ray that's going to blow up an entire planet. I'm like,
No, blows
wait.
up 4 planets.
Oh yeah, blows up 4 planets. Like, oh, it's not 1, it's 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not a moon.
Yeah, I'm
it's
sitting
a
there
planet
going,
that shoots.
you know, this was something special 40 years ago,
Yeah.
and now it's hackneyed.
You got me thinking of the line from Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day
Again.
It's
You're
the
all
same
hypocrites.
Thing.
They used to
But,
take out the hog and eat it.
all right. Again, let's get back to speed
Push
round
on,
here.
push on, push on.
Since we were talking about Harry Potter, 8 movies make up the Harry Potter franchise,
Oh,
starting
yeah.
with the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone, if you're from across the pond.
Joe, I'm not. You
2001.
have to include Fantastic Beasts. You don't get to write that off.
Well,
Put those movies. Okay.
It's in there. So, Sorcerer's Stone kicked things off 2001, concluded with Deathly Hallows, which they broke into 2 parts, 2010, 2011. The entire franchise has earned $9.5 billion. J.K. Rowling, she can just sit back and enjoy her money. And then, of course, 3 Fantastic Beasts movies. I enjoyed the first one. I never got around to seeing the next 2. I heard bad things about it. My personal favorite out of all of them was The Prisoner of Azkaban in 2004, which had a time travel element to it, which was so much fun. The way they presented it on screen, where they revealed a series of events, then go back in time
Yes.
and show the different perspective of those same
Where the
events.
person's in
was
like they're
brilliant.
looking out into in the forest, like, what's going
Yeah.
on back there? And then later on, it's them, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's so fun.
And when Hermione has lines like, "Is that what my hair looks like from behind?" You know, that sort of stuff. It was so much fun and so well crafted.
That was a
And,
horror movie.
It could
You
be. Yeah,
think
it
time
could have
traveler?
yeah, so
Yeah.
time travel, that's the only
To a
part
13-year-old teenager? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
well, I
right.
thought she could get some extra work done if she did. Come on, and that ruins everything, because if you have that, why don't you just go back and,
And
like
undo everything.
undo
Yeah,
everything?
yeah.
It doesn't make any
You
sense.
know,
Yeah.
when what's his face, Dumbledore picks up the thing, my hand is breaking, Severus, you must kill me. I'm like, hey, we got something that we can go and prevent you.
Yeah, we can undo
Don't
that.
pick it up, Albus. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Who said that?
Exactly.
Yeah, that time turner never reappeared in any of the other films.
Well, and then they tried to get from point A to point B, and so then they had the car that took them, which was pretty amazing. That didn't have any. And then later on, they had the flu stuff, and you could just go through the flu.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what it was, but it was like, how come we're introducing these things later on that didn't happen before?
In their world, they have a lotto. They have a potion called Liquid Luck. Are you kidding
sure.
me? I'd buy a lotto ticket,
Yeah.
drink that thing. Like, guess who's rolling, people?
Exactly. It just doesn't make any sense, but it's fun. Anyway, go on.
Now, my only gripe about the Harry Potter franchise, I saw every single one of them in theaters without ever reading any of the books.
Nice.
And my only gripe is that they got, after like the third one, they got progressively darker and darker and darker,
They
where characters were getting
did.
killed.
Yes.
Like, imagine taking your...
The books
let's-
got dark. It fit the books.
Well,
though.
yeah, they followed
Gary
the
Oldman.
plan there.
Why
but,
did you kill off Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
He was
And,
awesome.
Oh, I hated Bellatrix. Was that her name? Lestrange or whatever. She was like killing our beloved characters. Like, imagine your kid gets into the Harry Potter books, and they maybe they started out kind of young, and then you go see the movies, and you're reading the new books and seeing the movies, and these characters that were part of their youth that they embraced and loved in
Yeah.
these books, you're watching them get offed as they get older, and it's like by the time we got to those last two movies, I'm sitting in the theater numb, like, oh no, you killed off so many people. It was hard.
There was so much humor to that third movie. It's like, I don't think my dad would want you to become murderers. You didn't know your dad. In fact, you never knew your dad. I knew your dad. We did some stuff, man.
Yeah, right.
Step out of sight. That guy was responsible. Saving him will come back to save us. Like, this is not Lord of the Rings.
We
But-
do
but
need
what's
a
cool about it-
prequel. We need a prequel about Harry's parents. We need to see
I think
what
that
they
would
were
be very
capable
cool. I
of.
wonder
Yeah.
if J.K. Rowling can
Yeah.
pull a
It'd be
can
like
jump
an
the
end.
shark again. But
But Harry's dad was a bully. He tortured Severus Snape, apparently.
I actually did like that backline, and I thought that played in well later on, even though everybody hated Snape, but it did kind of work out that way. I thought. It was
Imagine
cool.
that. Imagine the Potters and Snape as younger people and playing out those moments. I would pay money to see that.
I would too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did like the fact that Miracle of Miracles, they had everybody in there except for Dumbledore
Who
is
passed
different.
away,
In
yeah.
in the first two, it's what's his name?
Harris.
Originally, it was
Richard
Richard
Harris.
Harris, but he
And then
passed
it
and
away.
Michael
becomes-
Gambon.
Gambon,
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
I
Boy, I've
think
never
you're right.
forgiven for stealing the Oscar from Ian McKellen for Lord of the Rings. Because
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen's Gandalf deserved to win for Fellowship of the Ring, and then Michael Gambon wins it for a
Oh.
movie called Iris. I was like, it's a movie about an eye? No, it's about a flower. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Oscars.
You
Yeah,
hold
it was
grudges,
ridiculous.
man.
Yes, I do.
You
I'm a
would-
petty man, Joe.
You're still pissed about Brian Denny, aren't you? Didn't you bring him up on the last
Yes, I
podcast?
did.
Why are we going down this dark rabbit hole?
I don't know. He gets
So
angry.
continue. You had a thought.
No, I'm kind of just wrapping up my thoughts on Harry Potter. That my only gripe is they got darker and darker and darker, where
There it
it
is,
got
yeah.
hard at the end, and I was kind of glad to be done with the franchise after the Deathly Hallows.
They had a werewolf eating a kid in the last movie. I'm like, what is... They were implying it. He's standing over the kid's body with the bloody jaw. I'm like, I know that was in the book, but
yeah,
come
that
on
was
now.
hard. That was tough. So, anything else you guys want to add about Harry Potter before we move on?
No,
No?
I mean, no. This is one of those things where it's Johnny Carson rule. When you get enough movies behind you, just have to have most of them work, and then you get a successful franchise.
I'm almost hesitant to bring up this next franchise because I think I'm a minority of one. The Fast and Furious franchise, made up
boy.
of 10 movies, one spin-off, and the 11th film is currently in production. Kicked off next year will be 25 years since the first Fast and Furious movie, which came out in 2001. The last movie to come out was Fast X in 2023. Some of the more interesting titles throughout the series. We got part 2 was called Too Fast, Too Furious. Then we got Tokyo Drift, which was technically part 3 in 2006. Fast 5, Furious 7, which not only was the top grossing movie of the entire franchise, but that was Paul Walker's final film, who died in a car accident during production. They weren't quite done filming yet, but they got most of his scenes done. But that's part of the reason why it was the top grossing film, is people wanted to see Paul Walker in his final film appearance. You take the F from Fast, you take the number 8 from the entry. They came up with the Fate of the Furious, Fast 8, which is interesting, a bit of a stretch. F9 in 2021, Fast X in 2023. And then they did a spinoff, which kind of pissed me off a little bit, called Hobbs and Shaw in 2019. And the reason it pissed me off is production on the Fast and Furious movies were put on hold so they can give The Rock his own standalone movie. And that sort of really pissed me off. And, there's talk. People say, oh, the next one's going to be the last one. Guess again. There's future films in the work, including, of course, Fast X Part 2.
Did you say future films for Fast and the Furious?
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
a lot
You
of
like
Fs.
the
A
alliteration?
A lot of F's being given right now.
Yeah.
So Hobbs is going to be back. The Rock is going to get another spinoff.
How many have you guys
Hobbs and
actually
Reyes.
seen of these movies?
I've seen all of them.
4.
I've seen
How
all
many
of
have you
them.
seen?
Just the
in
first
the
one.
I
theater.
just saw the first one, so count us out.
All right.
I thought it was pretty shallow, and I didn't
When I
understand it
when
to
I
be a
saw
very
the other
well-written-
when I saw the other 3, it's like when you break your diet and you're eating the gallon of ice cream and you cry later. That's me, like sobbing as I eat because I know I shouldn't have done it, but that little
and
reptile.
you feel like
I feel
a slut
shame.
afterwards.
Yeah, I just like it's like that walk of shame.
Yes,
I go to the
as you walk
bathroom.
out, you're like,
I'm crying in the shower, like
Yeah. It's like being really, really hungry and gorging yourself on cotton candy. It just doesn't do it.
all
but
those
It's
nights of eating
terrible.
kale and quinoa out the window because I just like emptied out the Ben and Jerry's because of that.
Now get this. I'll wrap up on this. One of the
Yeah.
films in the near future, I read this. Not much information out there, but it's going to be a female-led spinoff. So imagine an all-female Fast and Furious, and the franchise has earned over $7 billion. And the reason for a success, when you go all the way back to the first film, a lot of people like to use the term woke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the first movie appealed to a culture that a lot of us weren't aware of, that Southern California culture of Hispanics and African Americans and Asians, finding a commonality over
Yeah.
racing and souping up cars, and that was a culture that was brought to our attention in those movies.
Like an American
and that's
Graffiti
why it's
vibe.
successful. Yeah, is it
And
appealed
it wouldn't have
to
happened in
people.
Kentucky.
Yeah, no, exactly.
At least in my maybe it
Yeah.
would. Actually, Kentucky's got some pretty cool things about it. So does Tennessee, but
So,
mean-
but maybe not.
so
Remember-
badmouth the franchise.
Yeah,
but,
the Robert E. Lee with the Confederate flag on it. Made a show on it.
There you go.
Those Hazard
but the
boys.
franchise did appeal to a diverse audience that spoke to them, and that's why it's been successful. And it showed Hispanics and African Americans in later films being computer techs and gadget wizards.
But
where
not-
it's but and I know it was a departure from the racing premise, but it was kind of refreshing to see people of color in those roles. You didn't see that a lot in Hollywood, So I'll get
It's
off
kind
my
of their
soapbox.
version of the Lion King. Well, we'll allow them, but we don't want them to be the actual racers.
You're right. They didn't show them those other roles, but they were all criminals.
Oh, lovely.
It depends on how it started out that way.
I mean, I think they all were kind of criminals, right? It's kind of a
But
it's
then they
kind of a
start leading into like,
ragtag.
we're going to commit heists. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm glad you guys are smart and everything, but
God, we're almost at 90 minutes. I got a bunch of titles. On
I
my
think this
list.
is part one
Should
of
we-
possibly
this is
part
part-
Yes.
three. Are you kidding me? I think
Yes.
this is one.
this is part one of the
Yeah.
franchise.
Yeah, there you go. A franchise
It'll
is
be
born.
our first franchise of this show.
There you go. And
I agree.
the pressure's on, George.
There's still a lot to talk about.
We
You're
can't
right.
recast you. You have to be here for the
Oh, I
next
know.
one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. On this episode, we're all just podcasters, but in the future episode, we'll be cracking codes and saving the world and diffusing bombs.
And,
at
and I
some
tell
point.
our audience, you don't know Andrew's list. Andrew puts work into that list, and he's just quietly he's making notes on each side, and I have to cheat off of him.
I love these notes. I've been looking at his notes too. He's been doodling on it.
I still have 8 franchises that
Oh, I
that
think I
haven't
got
touched.
more than that. So let's do that. Let's wrap
Yeah.
up part one of
Yes.
favorite franchises, and we will be back in
To
2
be
weeks
continued.
with more titles. And these are, we can't just ignore these titles.
No,
There's a
no.
lot more to talk about.
And
but
P.S. We could have done an entire show just on Star Wars. Again,
Yeah,
we can't
exactly.
do one of these. Maybe you guys have done one without me where we didn't talk about Star Wars.
I know. Same thing with Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Oh,
and
Jurassic
Yeah.
Park.
At least over the average, at least every other episode, Jurassic Park comes in there
Yeah.
in Star Wars.
That's right. All right. So on that
Jaws
note,
was a franchise too.
we'll wrap up part one. We'll be back for part two. And I hope you enjoyed this first 90-minute talk on franchises. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Come to the movies. Watch Charlie Chaplin and put some sunshine into your day. Forget the hard times, come to the movies and try to laugh your troubles away.